Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I am so happy that you're here with me today. This is the second part of the video on this vintage wedding junk journal, and I am so happy to show you the cover. I have soon, as you can see, my lace. It's a very old piece of lace that I found, and I sewn it on a piece of lin. It's a pretty nice cloth that I really like the fact that it was a pretty natural looking color, and it's a very expensive cloth as well. Lin, I can't remember the name in English. And I'm going now to sew it onto this encyclopedia cover, which is from 1973. And I'm going to use this textile glue, paintbrush, and my card here, which is super important. So to do this, I'm going to start with the middle to make sure that the lace is really straight and right in the middle, and that we don't just, if you start with the sides, you might just not be right in the middle. It might be a little bit off or something. So we'll just start with the center. Before we press anything, we'll just make sure that it's right where it's supposed to be, and now we can apply pressure with our card to make sure there's no air bubbles and it's well glued. And then we're just going to glue all the sides, both sides, and I apply the glue with my paintbrush to ensure that there's no big clumps of glue, because the glue can just go through the cloth and it might just leave a mark, and it's not very pretty. So with a paintbrush like this or with your fingers, you're sure that it doesn't leave a mark. Now that both sides are done, we're going to chop off the sides. I'm still pretty bad at doing these corners. If you have any ideas on how to make it better, I would love to know. What I do is I just glue that little piece there. I put a little pin to make sure that it stays in place, and then we will just put the sides, um, glue the sides to the encyclopedia cover. And again, I am using my paintbrush and my card to make sure there are no bubbles, no air bubbles, no glue chunks, lumps. And then I'm using my little pins to hold everything in place and make sure it's all glued properly. Now that we've done this, I really wanted to add some nice little corners. So these are vintage metallic bronze corners that I bought on AliExpress. And if you go to my channel in the whole section, the playlist, you will see the where I bought the corners on AliExpress. It's aliexpress.fr, so I'm not sure you can get it if you're not in France, but do have a look. I really like them and I really wanted to add them, but as you can see on the right it looks pretty nice, but on the left, because we have that extra little piece of lace that's, on the side, it didn't look that right to me. So I had a bit of a trouble finding something that would suit every corner, and I ended up just doing the corners on the front of the book and not on each four corners. And the next step, and this is something you really, really mustn't forget before you glue your signatures inside, is adding that little triangle that I love adding. It just helps to put like a dangle there, like a boho bead and stuff. And I really wanted to do this for this one. I wasn't sure what kind of bead I wanted at this point, but I thought, might as well just put the triangle. And if you don't want to put anything, you don't have to, but at least the person that buys the book can just add it themselves. So I just prefer to just do it. And now we're going to attach those corners. So as you saw, I just marked the hole with my pen, and now I am punching them with this really pointy tool that I use to make the holes in the signatures. I was also thinking, yeah, and I'm using those Tim Holtz brads because they're pretty long and my cover is really thick. So the ones I had just didn't work. They weren't long enough. And now we're going to do the hole there on the spine. For this, I have cut off pieces of this, the mat, to cut. I'm sorry about the hair. I find it a lot easier. I just don't like them. I have a really big mat, but it takes quite a long time to just use it and move it around and stuff. So I just have pieces, which is pretty good. And right now I'm just gluing the lace because as you've seen before, the lace has been sewn. It's not glued to the cover. So that place around the little triangle was not attached. So I just put a little bit of glue, made a hole with my cutter or X-Acto knife, and now I'm going to make some holes right there to attach the triangle. And this triangle is something that you buy to put your canvas and frames in your house. And they're pretty small. I also bought them on AliExpress. So if you go onto my playlist with the AliExpress haul, you will see where I bought it. And I am just adding some tiny little, these are really, really small brads that I bought in a French shop. It was a long time ago. I haven't found them since. And to secure everything, I'm just going to put a little bit of tacky glue and my favorite masking tape. And now we can move on to our spine. So we're going to make a hidden spine because I did not want to just have the threads of our 12 signatures apparent on top of the lace. I wanted them to be like not visible. And I also wanted the cloth to be the same as the front one. So what we're doing here, and I wanted it to be really, really flexible. I wanted, it's 12 signatures, pretty huge, so I wanted it to be really flexible. So what we're doing here, we're gluing this piece of cloth on a piece of paper. It's an A4 paper. And you know me, I like to use my paintbrush to make sure that there's no lumps of glue that would put some marks on our cloth. And once we make sure that there are no air bubbles, we're just going to glue all the sides of the cloth onto the paper to make sure that everything is really well glued, like on each four sides. The next bit is a bit tedious. We're going to measure out our cover. We want to know exactly how much space we have to put all our 12 signatures, and then we're going to divide that space by the number of signatures that we have. So since I have 12 signatures, I'm just going to write down exactly where my spine is. I really want it to be really straight, not deviate at all. And then we're going to calculate how much we want, how many centimeters per signature we want. And that's what I'm going to do right now. And so divide it into 12, make all 12 little lines, and we do want the lines. It's really preferable because then you can see that you are on the right line, if you see what I mean. When you're sewing your signatures, you need to make sure that it's not just holes poked everywhere, but an actual line that you can just follow. And so we have our 7 centimeter spine divided by 12 signatures, and that's approximately 0.5 something something, 0.6 centimeters for each signature. So I've divided the length of the page, the length of the signatures into three. I usually do 2 centimeters of the top, 2 centimeters of the bottom, and then in the middle. And right now I'm just writing down every 6 millimeters for the next signature to be. And sometimes it doesn't work so well. As you can see at the top, I've made my calculations twice. Sometimes you just end up with like 11 signatures instead of 12, and that's because you have a difference of a few millimeters. And since I did 6 instead of 5.8, it just wasn't working. I was missing a signature. So I had to redo everything again. And now I'm just making the lines across for each signature now that I've done exactly how I wanted to have my 12 signatures. The next step is to poke the holes into each of our signatures. As you've noticed, I've attached each signature with my little pin here, and I'm just going to attach them so that it's easier to handle, especially because I actually have 12 to do, so it's going to be a long time. And I've done that little paper that really helps me out to know exactly which where to poke. The idea is to do, okay, so you have 2 centimeters of the top, 2 centimeters of the bottom on your cover, which for me is usually 5 millimeters difference at the top and the bottom. So we end up with 1.5 centimeter of the top and the bottom of your pages. You really need to make sure that you get this right. Like the holes have to be exactly the same as the holes on your cover. Otherwise, there's going to be some problems with some pages that are going to be a lot higher, or some signatures that are going to be higher or lower. And it's really important to stay the same. And also just keep your signatures all the same way, like forward or back and stuff, so that in case there's a little difference on that piece of paper that you have, that all the signatures are the same way and all the differences that you have are the same in each of the signatures, and you don't have one higher up and one lower down. And now I'm just going to speed it up and do all 12 signatures. Alright, so I've made all the holes in all of our 12 signatures. I've attached them all with a little pincers, I guess. And now I'm just going to cut all the threads so that it's easier to do. And to do that, I just catch 3 times the length of what I'm going to sew. And then I just put them all together so they're easy to grab. And this is just cotton thread. Okay, now that we've done this, I'm gonna grab a needle. My needle is pretty thick. You don't need a thick needle, you don't need a pointy needle either. You just need a needle. Then you need to make sure all your ooh, you need to make holes in this as well. So we've made painfully the marks, so we're just going to make the holes now. Then we're gonna grab our needle, grab our thread, and we're going to start from the back. And this is the back. This is not going to be visible. All you will see is this part here. We're going to start here. And this is going to be our last signature. And it's going to be this way. And I'm gonna do one on one side, the other on the other one. I'm just gonna make sure my threads are really tight, like so. Just pull well, and if you see, I'm gonna make a knot around this one. There, all secure. I'm just gonna cut off these, and now we're going to do all 12 of them. And now we can remove this as well. There's many different ways to do the sewing. I would just suggest that you just try whichever way you prefer. And then just do that one. It also depends on the kind of books you want to make. And here I'm trying for the first time to sew on a cloth only here to have a very flexible cover. Well, not cover, like a flexible hidden signature thing. Alright, I'm not going to show you how I sew all 12 pages because that is a little bit boring and my phone keeps falling. So I will show you at the end what it looks like. Alright, see you in a minute. All the pages sewn. I've just put a little bit of glue, textile glue all over to make sure this is glued perfectly, and then I'm just gonna add some tape. As well. Phew. So now we're just going to leave this to dry a little bit. Just gonna leave it like this for a bit, and then we're gonna glue it to the cover, and then we'll decorate. I just love doing this, it's so pretty! And there's so many pages and so much lace. Do comment if you like it. I would love to hear your comments. And now we're going to glue our signatures to our cover. So for this I am using tacky glue, textile glue when there is cloth. And we're just going to start by gluing the sides, as you can see here, and glue that paper that we have and make sure it's exactly the middle. Since my cover is a little bit bigger than my pages, I need to make sure that I have exactly how much I need to have, you know, on each side, so they're both the same, the top and the bottom. And I'm using textile glue when it's cloth. Now that this side is glued and holding, we can glue the middle onto the actual spine. Don't be radin with the glue. Do you use glue? It's really important that everything sticks really well. And what we're going to do next is fix that second little bit of paper, and then we're going to attach it. And now we'll just leave this to rest for overnight if possible. And this is the end of this part of the tutorial. I really hope that you liked it and that I will see you soon in the next part of the tutorial. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like what I do. It really helps, supports my channel. And I will see you guys really soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.